Kassel, spelled Kassel until 1928, is a city located on the Fulda River in northern Hesse, Germany. It is the administrative seat of the Regierungsbezirk Kassel and the Kreis of the same name and has 200,507 inhabitants in December 2015. The former capital of the state of Hesse-Kassel has many palaces and parks, including the Bergpark Wilhelmshöhe, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Kassel is also known for the documenta exhibitions of contemporary art history. The city's name is derived from the ancient Castellum Catorum, a castle of the Chatti, a German tribe that had lived in the area since Roman times. Kassel was first mentioned in 913 AD, as the place where two deeds were signed by King Conrad I. The place was called Cassel and was a fortification at a bridge crossing the Fulda River. A deed from 1189 certifies that Kassel had city rights, but the date when they were granted is not known. In 1567, the Landgraviate of Hesse, until then centered in Marburg, was divided among four sons, with Hesse-Kassel becoming one of its successor states. Kassel was its capital and became a center of Calvinist Protestantism in Germany. Strong fortifications were built to protect the Protestant stronghold against Catholic enemies. Secret societies, such as Rosicrucianism, flourished, with Christian Rosenkreuz's work Farmer Fraternitas first published in 1617. In 1685, Kassel became a refuge for 1,700 Huguenots who found shelter in the newly established borough of Oberneustadt. Landgrave Charles, who was responsible for this humanitarian act, also ordered the construction of the octagon and of the orangery. In the late 18th century, Hesse-Kassel became infamous for selling mercenaries to the British Crown to help suppress the American Revolution and to finance the construction of palaces in the Landgrave's opulent lifestyle. In the early 19th century, the brothers Grimm lived in Kassel. They collected and wrote most of the fairy tales there. At the time, around 1803, the Landgravate was elevated to a principality and its ruler to Prince-Elector. Shortly after, it was annexed by Napoleon, and in 1807 it became the capital of the short-lived Kingdom of Westphalia under Napoleon's brother Jerome. The electorate was restored in 1813, having sided with Austria in the Austro-Prussian War to gain supremacy in Germany. The principality was annexed by Prussia in 1866. The Prussian administration united Nassau, Frankfurt and Hesse-Kassel into the new Prussian province of Hesse-Nassau. Kassel ceased to be a princely residence, but soon developed into a major industrial center, as well as a major railway junction. Henschel & Ampson, the largest railway locomotive manufacturer in Germany at the end of the 19th century, was based in Kassel. In 1870, after the Battle of Sedan, Napoleon III was sent as a prisoner to the castle of Wilhelmshöhe above the city. During World War I, the German military headquarters were located in the castle of Wilhelmshöhe. In the late 1930s, Nazis destroyed Heinrich Hubsch's Kassel synagogue. During World War II, Kassel was the headquarters for Germany's Wehrkreis, and a local subcamp of Dachau concentration camp provided forced labor for the Henschel facilities, which included tank production plants. The most severe bombing of Kassel in World War II destroyed 90% of the downtown area. Some 10,000 people were killed, and 150,000 were made homeless. Most of the casualties were civilians or wounded soldiers recuperating in local hospitals, whereas factories survived the attack generally undamaged. Karl Jalon replaced the regional Gauleiter, Karl Weinruck. Soon after the raid, the Allied ground advance into Germany reached Kassel at the beginning of April 1945. The U.S. 80th Infantry Division captured Kassel in bitter, house-to-house fighting during 2–4 April 1945, which included numerous German Panzer Grenadier counterattacks, and resulted in further widespread devastation to bombed and unbombed structures alike. Post-war, most of the ancient buildings were not restored, and large parts of the city area were completely rebuilt in the style of the 1950s. A few historic buildings, however, such as the Museum Friedrichianum, were restored. In 1949, the interim parliament eliminated Kassel in the first round as a city to become the provisional capital of the Federal Republic of Germany. In 1964, the town hosted the 4th Hessentag State Festival. In 1972, the Chancellor of West Germany Willy Brandt and the Prime Minister of the German Democratic Republic Willi Stoph met in Wilhelmshöhe, Kassel, for negotiations between the two German states. In 1991, the central rail station moved from Hauptbahnhof to Kassel-Wilhelmshöhe. Culture. In 1558, the first German observatory was built in Kassel, followed in 1604 by the Ottonium, the first permanent German theatre building. The old building is today the Natural History Museum, and the now called Staatstheater Kassel is located in a nearby building that was constructed in the 1950s. Since 1927, Kassel has been home to Bärenreiter, one of the world's most important music publishers. Since 1955, the Documenta, an international exhibition of modern and contemporary art, has been held regularly in Kassel. The Documenta now takes place every 5 years. The last exhibition, Documenta, was held in 2012. As a result of the Documenta 6, Kassel became the first town in the world to be illuminated by laser beams at night. This laser installation is nowadays still visible at weekends. Other Documenta remnants can be found in many places in Kassel, among those the 7,000 Oaks, a work of land art by the German artist Joseph Beuys. Demographics. Sites. The bombing raids of 1943 destroyed 90% of the city center. The city was almost completely rebuilt during the 1950s and is a combination of renovated or reconstructed old buildings and architecture of the 1950s. Outside of the city center, the suburbs are dominated by 19th-century architecture. The oldest monument is the Drusselturm. The Bruderkirche and the Martinskirche are also in part of medieval origin. The towers of the Martinskirche are from the 1950s. Bergpark Wilhelmshöhe. The complex includes Wilhelmshöhe Palace, the Hercules Monument, and the Lions Castle. Wilhelmshöhe Palace above the city was built in 1786 by Landgrave Wilhelm IX of Hesse-Kassel. The palace is now a museum and houses an important collection of Greco-Roman antiques and a fine gallery of paintings comprising the second largest collection of Rembrandts in Germany. It is surrounded by the beautiful Bergpark Wilhelmshöhe with many appealing sights. The complex was named a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2013. The Hercules Monument is a huge octagonal stone structure carrying a giant replica of Hercules, Farnes. From its base down to Wilhelmshöhe Palace runs a long set of artificial cascades which delight visitors during the summer months. Every Sunday and Wednesday afternoon at 14:30 the famous water features take place. They start at the Octagon and during a 1-hour walk through the park visitors can follow the water's way until they reach the lake of the castle, Wilhelmshöhe, where a fountain of about 50 meters marks the end of the spectacle. The Löwenberg is a replica of a medieval castle, also built during the reign of Wilhelm IX. After the Franco-Prussian War of 1870-71, Napoleon III was imprisoned in Wilhelmshöhe. In 1918, Wilhelmshöhe became the seat of the German Army High Command. It was there that the military commanders Hindenburg and Ludendorff prepared the German capitulation. Staatspark Kassel, another large park and also part of the European Garden Heritage Network, is the Kassel along the Fulda River. Established in the 16th century, it is famous for the Orangery, a palace built in 1710 as a summer residence for the Landgraves. Today there is also a planetarium in the park, in the Museum of Astronomy and Technology. In addition, the Park Schönfeld contains a small, municipal botanical garden, the Botanischer Garten Kassel. Art museums. Europe's first public museum. The Museum Friedrichianum was founded in 1779. By the end of the 19th century, the museum held one of the largest collections in the world of watches and clocks. Other art museums in Kassel include Schloss Wilhelmshöhe, New Gallery, Hessisches Landsmuseum closed under renovation until 2012. Other museums: Museum of Natural History, Museum of Physics and Astronomy in the Orangery, Marmabad in the Orangery, Caricatura, Museum of Local History, Tram Museum Kassel, Technical Museum and Henschel Museum, Louis Spohr Museum, Brothers Grimm Museum in the Bellevue Palace, Museum for Sepulchral Culture. Sports. Hesse-Kassel is the football club in the city, who plays in the Regionalliga Südwest in Germany. The city-owned football stadium, the Auerstadion, was built in 1953 and is able to hold 18,737 people and located in the south of Kassel at the Quarter Südstadt. Kassel has a long ice hockey tradition. The team, the Kassel Huskies, was active from 1977 to 2010. They were founding members of the DEL in 1994, belonging to the league from 1994 to 2006 and again from 2008 to 2010. In 1997, they were runners-up in the championship playoffs, losing to Adler Mannheim, and reached the semi-finals on 3 more occasions. The Huskies ran into financial difficulties and dissolved in 2010. The Young Huskies, which is a junior and youth hockey club, decided to enter a men's team in the Hesse-Liga. This is the 5th division and the lowest men's competition in the state of Hesse. The new club was expecting no more than 3,000 supporters for the first home game in the Hesse-Liga. However, they had over 5,000 supporters come to watch. Transport. Kassel has 7 tram lines, with trams arriving usually every 15 minutes. The city also operates a light rail Startbahn network called Regia Tram, using Regia Citadis low-floor trams which run on both tram and main line railway tracks with 4 lines. Moreover, a number of low-floor buses complete the Kassel public transport system. The introduction of low-floor buses led to the development of the Kassel curb, which improves the accessibility at bus stops. The city is connected to the national rail network at 2 stations, Kassel Central and Kassel Wilhelmshöhe. The traditional central station has been reduced to the status of a regional station since the opening of the Hanover-Wurzburg high-speed rail line in 1991, and its station on the high-speed line at which the Intercity Express and Intercity services call. Kassel is connected to the motorways A7, A49 and A44. The city is served by Kassel-Calden Airport. Education and research. University of Kassel. The University of Kassel was founded in 1971, and is the newest university in the state of Hesse. The university offers 12 international master's programs as well as 2 short-term international programs, the Summer University and the Winter University. The Kunsthochschule Kassel is also part of the university. Other institutions: Fraunhofer Institute für Wind Energy und Energiesystemtechnik, a former Institute für Solare Energieversorgungstechnik, Fraunhofer Institute für Bohrphysikprojektgruppe Kassel, Forschungszentrum für Informationstechnik Gestaltung, International Center for Development and Decent Work, Internationales Zentrum für Hochschulforschung Kassel, Zentrum für Umweltbewusstes Bauen, Center for Interdisciplinary Nanostructure Science and Technology, AG Friedensforschung, Associations, Volksbund Deutsche Kriegsgrabeversorge, German War Graves Commission, Gesellschaft für Christlich-Jüdische Zusammenarbeit Kassel, Spitzenverband der Landwirtschaftlichen Sozialversicherung, Deutsche Rentenversicherung Hessen, Industrie- und Handelskammer Kassel, Courts. Several courts are located in Kassel, including Federal Social Court of Germany, Hessische Verwaltungsgerichtshof, Hessisches Finanzgericht, Sozialgericht Kassel, Arbeitsgericht Kassel, Verwaltungsgericht Kassel, Oberlandesgericht Frankfurt, Main in Kassel, Landgericht Kassel, Amtsgericht Kassel and Staatsanwaltschaft Kassel. Famous people: Valerius Cordus, physician and botanist who authored one of the greatest pharmacopoeias and one of the most celebrated herbals in history. William IV, Landgrave of Hesse-Kassel, Landgravine Charlotte of Hesse-Kassel, Maria Amalia of Courland, noblewoman, participated in the creation of the park at Kassel. Simon Louis Dury, architect. Rudolf Erich Rasper, a University of Kassel librarian who fled to England after embezzling significant funds from Frederick II, Landgrave of Hesse-Kassel, and wrote The Surprising Adventures of Baron Munchausen. Prince Charles of Hesse-Kassel, Prince Frederick of Hesse-Kassel, Gertrude Elizabeth Mara, operatic soprano. Georg Friedrich Sartorius, research historian and economist. Louis Spohr, a 19th-century composer and violinist, who is commemorated by a museum in the city. Jerome Bonaparte, brother of Napoleon Bonaparte, while he was king of Westphalia. The brothers Grimm, Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm, academics, linguists, cultural researchers, and authors who collected folklore and published several collections of it as Grimm's Fairy Tales. HSH Princess Augusta of Hesse-Kassel, Princess and Landgravine of Hesse-Kassel, consort to Field Marshal HRH the Prince Adolphus Frederick, Duke of Cambridge. Friedrich Armand Strabag, merchant, physician, colonist in North America, direct descendant of Frederick I of Sweden. Albrecht Rosengarten, architect famous for synagogue buildings in Central Europe. Justice Karl Haskell, botanist specializing in pteridophytes, bryophytes and spermatophytes. Louise of Hesse-Kassel, princess and the queen consort to King Christian IX of Denmark. Helmut Kollers, writer and illustrator. Paul Reuter, founder of the Reuters news agency. Israel Mav Jaffet, who later became choir director in Frankfurt am Main. Carl Friedrich Klaus, chemist. Adolf Fuchsen, physiologist. Hugo Wilhelm Marthenau, the artist who designed the Seal of California. Jacob Stilling, ophthalmologist, son of Benedict Stilling, surgeon, and brother of Heinrich Stilling, pathologist. Philipp Scheidmann, briefly Germany's chancellor after World War I. Andreas Dippel, operatic tenor. Karl Kaiserling, pathologist. Franz Rosenzweig, philosopher. F.W. Murnau, movie director in the silent era. Helmut Asser, who did fundamental work in algebra and number theory. Arnold Bode, architect, painter, designer and founder of the Documenta. Lenny Juncker, athlete who competed mainly in the 100 meters. Hans-Gerrit von Stockhausen, Korvettenkapitän with the Kriegsmarine during World War II. Otto Sander was a German film, theater, and voice actor. Barbara Rudnick was a German actress. Marim Sara Uzerli, Turkish-German actress. Anna Kamelhorn, German butterfly medley swimmer who competed in the 2004 Summer Olympics. Milky Chance, German alternative pop folk rock duo. Lucas Gliam, Yunus Mali, Turkish footballer. International relations. Kassel is twinned with